I want to share a moment in my life when I feel like I officially met the Lord for the very first time. My turning point from non-believer to, wow, my moment of truth. I struggle with a certain kind of fear that I developed many years ago, which came about one day when I was traveling in a car. Some refer to it as a phobia, and I think there's even a specific name for it. I just call it fear because there's no reason to treat it with respect and call it by a proper name. In the winter of 1996, my brother picked me up from college in Vincennes, Indiana to travel to Virginia in order to visit my family over Christmas break. Because he drove most of the way, he eventually got tired and asked me to take over. Just a few minutes into the drive, and we were going about 90 miles an hour down a 6-lane highway in the mountains of West Virginia. Ups and downs and curves and traffic, and it was blowing my mind. I didn't know how to process it. Back then, I didn't know what anxiety was, but I found myself experiencing my first anxiety attack. I had the shakes, the cold sweats, my heart was racing, and I had a strong urge for something to come out of both ends, and so on. Ever since that day, and because of that dreadful feeling, I did my best not to put myself in that situation, and I slowly let that specific fear take over areas of my life. Year after year, my precious comfort zone grew smaller and smaller as the anxiety attacks continued to win. Sadly, I became very comfortable with the idea of never traveling out of city limits, and I even talked myself into thinking there was nothing wrong with that. But it was truly affecting my friendships and my marriage. One day in July of 2014, things changed. My daughter was attending a summer camp, and parent night was coming up. Parents were invited to come see what their children learn and to take a tour of the area. I wanted to be a great dad, but the location was a daunting 12 miles, yes, 12 miles away, and I had already decided that was way too far out to even attempt. But I really, really wanted to be a good dad. With the thought of trying it out, I fought and battled with myself over and over until I finally found myself in the driver's seat, apprehensive but ready to give it a shot. I felt like something was pushing me to go, but I tried to find more comfort knowing that I could simply just change my mind and turn around at any time. 6 miles down the road, the anxiety already started to creep in. Second thoughts began to swirl around my head, and I became a little jittery. But for some reason, I wasn't ready to give up yet. 2 more miles later, I slowly came around a curve, and a huge dip in the road was revealed to me that stretched out for over a mile. Like a movie, the horrific scene opened up to reveal a terrifying path ahead of me. I could almost hear a cinematic bass drop in the background, and my imagination began to run wild. There wasn't a place to pull over. There wasn't even a spot to turn around. I had to press through. At this time, anxiety fully consumed me, and I was experiencing the many horrible symptoms of an anxiety attack. I broke out in a cold sweat. My heart was pounding out of my chest, my hands were clammy, I felt like throwing up, breathing became a challenge, my vision became blurry, I felt like I had to poop, my throat tickled, my feet felt numb, and my mind was thinking of everything that could go wrong. As I approached the beginning of that hill and about to begin my descent into the bottomless pits of hell, I started to recall bits and pieces of the Bible that I heard preachers talk about on TV and from a few infrequent visits to church. It felt like an inaudible voice was speaking the words to me. In the midst of all that chaos, I remembered that I had the opportunity to call out to Jesus and also the ability and authority to tell the devil to leave me the heck alone. Like a roller coaster, I started the downward descent and reached the point of no return. With a death grip on the steering wheel, my mouth slowly opened and I began to ask Jesus for help. I remember saying, Jesus, give me the courage to overcome this. Help me, help me, help me. Gravity caused me to pick up speed and I began to ask louder and louder. As I quickly approached the bottom of the hill, I spotted a place to turn around, but to my own surprise, I kept pushing forward. It was almost like something was pulling me forward. Keeping with the momentum, I began to yell very loudly at the devil. I was truly shouting. The windows were down, and at the peak of my excitement, my language even may have gotten a little colorful as I demanded that the enemy get away from me, and he was not going to win this time. I was pretty emotional. As I started to ascend the hill, the noise from my mouth stopped and everything became quiet. I could only hear my heartbeat time seemed to slow down, and an incredible and unexplainable kind of peace came over me. I clearly recall these fluffy, giant dandelion seeds gently blowing in the breeze that reminded me of fresh snow. Some even came through the window, and I found myself almost inhaling one. I was like, as I was sobbing and trying to get my emotions under control. But the scenery that once seemed dark and gloomy was now brightly glowing, and I could feel the warm sunshine on my skin. It's difficult to put in words, but everything that surrounded me felt peaceful, and without a doubt, I knew God was there with me. As I neared the top of the hill, I imagined God waving me toward him like a dad would do with their kid when they first remove the training wheels on the bike, saying, "Come on, my son, keep going. You're almost there." Like God was on top of that hill. He was waiting for me. Finally, reaching the top of the hill, I was an emotional mess, and I was overwhelmed with joy from that huge victory. As I completed the journey, a few more miles down the road, I tried to figure out exactly what had happened. God happened. He was truly there for me, and just as he promises, he never left my side. It was only because of Jesus that I was able to bust through those boundaries and give the devil a black eye at the same time. It was the Lord that gave me the power and the authority and the victory. That day was indeed my turning point, my moment of truth with a capital T, because that truth is nothing but Jesus. That was the first time that I truly felt the love and presence of the Lord. 2 months after that, I gave my heart to the Lord and have been faithfully growing with him ever since. I'm learning to trust him more and exercising my faith by going out further and further, destroying that dumb comfort zone. I've made it a habit to take a selfie of all the places that he leads me to, and hopefully soon I'll start seeing some big mountains or palm trees in the backgrounds of those photos. I often travel down that same road with that same hill, and each and every time I'm reminded of God's love, his mercy, and his desire for me to better myself. To him I give all the glory and honor, and I thank him for showing me how to boldly fight back in the powerful name of Jesus.